You ever had somebody try to steal your entire life out from under you before sunrise? That's what it felt like 1 minute. I'm sipping my coffee, enjoying the salt in the air. The next, there's a woman in a yacht club blazer screaming across my stone pier like she owns the whole world. Private pier access ends today, Mr. Crawford. That eyesore fishing operation violates 17 community standards and maritime safety codes. Surrender your dock keys or face federal trespassing charges. I nearly spit out my coffee right then, and there who starts a war before 7 a.m.? Let me back up a sec. Name's Knox Crawford. 3 months back, I thought I'd finally found some peace, you know? Divorce in the rear view. 44 years old, still licking my wounds. But at least I'd inherited my grandmother's old Mediterranean villa. You should have seen this place built in 1923. All classic stone balustrades, and these old wine cellars down below, with a 200-foot pier stretching straight out into the crystal blue water of Heritage Harbor. I figure maybe I could finally get back to myself, working the oyster farm off that pier, making just enough 80 grand a year or nothing fancy, but honest work. Work that felt mine. That morning, though, it didn't feel like mine at all. There she was, Cordelia Ashworth Sterling, HOA president and queen of the over-caffeinated power suit pointing in my grandma's villa like it was some crime scene. Flanking her were two guys in dark suits, Sterling Maritime Development, LLC stamped on their briefcases, and I swear, one had a tiny earpiece glinting in his hair. It was all so official, but also too official, you know what I mean? Ma'am, I think there's been some mistake, I said, putting down my coffee and walking her way. This is private property. I haven't gotten any notices. Cordelia's laugh could have stripped paint off a barn. Mr. Crawford, ignorance isn't a defense. Last night, the HOA board held an emergency meeting about your situation. She whipped out an iPad like she was revealing murder evidence professional violation notices, all stamped and sealed. But it felt too rehearsed, too slick like a sales pitch she'd given 100 times before. I scanned her documents, thinking this smells off. I never got a meeting notice, I told her. And this villa has exemptions because of its historic maritime status. Something flickered in her face, not fear. Just that split second when someone realizes you know more than they'd guessed. But she snapped right back, waving at her goons. Historical designations can be complex. What matters is community welfare. Your operation presents environmental concerns. And once we modify the pier for larger vessels, the whole community benefits. Larger vessels. That phrase stuck in my head like a splinter. My oyster boats are tiny. Why did she need a deep water pier for anything bigger? Her guys weren't HOA types, either. One was photographing the underwater foundation, the other measuring with blueprints in hand. This wasn't about HOA bylaws, not real. It was about infrastructure. They wanted this pier, not for the neighbors, but for something way bigger. I asked how many board members had voted for this. 3: myself, my husband Bradford, and his business partner Harrison. A family vote, pretending to be community representation. And with every answer, I could feel my grip on my own property slipping. I watched as a survey boat eased up by my pier, lowering expensive sonar equipment, like they were hunting treasure down there, not inspecting for navigation hazards. Mrs. Sterling, I need time to review these with my attorney. She gave me a smile sharp as broken glass. Of course, Mr. Crawford. But my husband and maritime attorneys assured me our authority here is comprehensive. Subtle threat, no subtlety in the muscle behind it. But something about the way she kept pausing, touching her earpiece, made me wonder, was she really in charge here, or just a puppet? By lunch, I was down a rabbit hole of public records. Turns out, this wasn't her first rodeo. In 2 years, 3 other waterfront estates just like mine had been forced out by sudden violations, fires, or emergencies. Each one ended up sold below market, scooped up by Sterling Maritime, turned into exclusive yacht clubs or event spaces for discreet clients. Pattern was obvious. They targeted old properties with big piers, deep water, and underground access. If you've ever had someone try to steal what your family built, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop your city in the comments. These stories get crazier the deeper you go. That afternoon, a crew of surveyors showed up, unannounced, lugging equipment I recognized from my cargo inspection days. "Excuse me," I called to the leader, an older guy with sea-weathered hands. "What exactly are you measuring?" He hesitated. "Ma'am says it's for safety compliance. But between you and me, these numbers theory for ships way bigger than fishing boats. Serious cargo." My inspector's gut said something was off. Why all this muscle and secrecy for a pier built in 1923? Then came the sonar readings. Turned out Grandma's wine cellars were just the start. There was a whole network of hidden chambers, interconnected tunnels, all with water-level access, perfect for smuggling, if you wanted to hide things from the government. Prohibition-era stuff. Yeppy Moroni, the original owner, wasn't just running wine back in the day. He'd built serious infrastructure. It was still usable. But why would Cordelia and her crew want that now? Because just like in the old days, infrastructure built to hide illegal cargo never really goes out of style. Deep water, hidden storage, escape tunnels, it was all gold for anyone wanting to move things under the radar. And with fake HOA votes, environmental emergencies, and even fake federal inspectors showing up at my door, the plot got thicker by the minute. By sundown, I realized this wasn't about property values or noisy oyster boats. It was organized crime using local authority to acquire the perfect smuggling hub. My stomach dropped as I watched boats pull up after dark, no lights, using night vision, scanning my pier, mapping every approach. Surveillance, not harassment. Sleep? Not that night. Every sound had me on edge, but morning brought a bit of hope. Harbor Master Billy Torrance, old friend and 30-year veteran of maritime law, stopped by with coffee. "Knox, this isn't just some HOA power play," he said, laying out files, photos, records, even Coast Guard surveillance. "Cordelia's been sniffing around about deep water access, patrol schedules, all of it. She's asking questions only a criminal would want answered." That's when Billy told me his son Mason was coming for a visit, a federal agent, Coast Guard Investigative Service, specializing in maritime crime. The twist? My own son was already working undercover, tracking Sterling Maritime as part of a massive federal case. When Mason arrived, he picked apart every fake document Cordelia had shown me, pointing out sophisticated forgeries that could only come from someone with federal access. "Dad, this isn't some HOA scam. It's organized crime with tentacles inside government agencies. These guys are using heritage law and phony emergencies to seize strategic properties for international smuggling." The next day, Mason and I explored the tunnels under the Villa Fresh concrete patches, new electrical backup generators. Someone had updated these for continuous operation, big money, professional work. The tunnels linked to natural underwater caves, concealed sub-access. "Dad, they're prepping this place for major operations, probably cocaine, weapons, maybe even human trafficking. And they know everything about your property because they've got inside help." When the fake federal inspectors showed up again, I called their bluff, photographed their IDs, asked for verification, watched as their confidence cracked. They weren't real agents, just actors, and they left fast. But I knew they'd be back with more muscle, more pressure. That night, Mason told me everything. He was Special Agent Mason Crawford, leading a task force investigating Sterling Maritime for building a cocaine smuggling network using historic American properties. My villa? It was the crown jewel, the last link needed to run $100 million worth of drugs up the East Coast. So we set a trap. Cordelia came at dawn, SUVs packed with inspectors and private security, waving counterfeit federal orders. I stalled her, and then Mason stepped out, badge shining. "Special Agent Crawford, Coast Guard Investigative Service," he announced, and the color drained from Cordelia's face. Real federal agents swarmed in, arrested her crew, blocked every exit, seized every document. The news helicopters showed up by lunch, feds everywhere. The whole community stunned as the truth came out. The HOA president was part of a plot to turn Heritage Harbor into the main entry point for cartel cocaine. My little oyster pier had almost become the center of a criminal empire. Instead, it became the evidence that took the whole network down. Cordelia got 12 years in federal prison. Her husband, his business partner, all their contacts across 3 states, locked up or under indictment. My villa was declared a federal heritage site, protected forever. And Masoni got promoted, put in charge of protecting maritime heritage from Maine to Florida. Funny how life works. I started with nothing but a broken heart and a fishing boat, and ended up helping take down an international cartel. All because I refused to back down from a woman in a blazer at sunrise. But let me ask you, what would you do if someone tried to steal your family's legacy with fake government muscle and a smile? Drop your answer below, because justice isn't just about loss, it's about standing your ground, even when the world says you should give up. And hey, if you've got your own story about HOA nightmares or property disputes, or just want to shout out your hometown at those comments, let's make sure nobody else has to fight this battle alone.